The Arts Board works behind the scenes to advocate for art in La Crosse. Kuhlman is the environmental planner and Arts Board secretary for the City of La Crosse. Lewis fills us in on how the board is involved in adding public art to the downtown, including the 3-story Helping Hands mural finished in 2018, the Confluence mural completed in 2014, and they helped formulate the inaugural Art Spire, an all-inclusive free event that attracts, engages, and connects our diverse community through meaningful arts experiences. I'm Amy, and he's Brent, and this is La Crosse Local.
What led you to being an environmental planner for the City of La Crosse and eventually the most important, the Arts Board Secretary?
Sure. My name is Lewis Kuhlman. I grew up in St. James, Minnesota. What led me to become an environmental planner and then in the Arts Board Secretary? Well, I had a sort of roundabout path here. My initial interest out of high school was to study music business. So I did that in Winona and then went to work for a CD manufacturing company, and later they started a record label. So I was working in the music business. It just wasn't quite what I had hoped. So I decided to do something a little bit more altruistic. I thought urban planning, kind of more of a broader impact, more policy related. Fortunately, working with the City of La Crosse, the City of La Crosse's planning department is pretty small. So you do get to end up working with like PED committee, floodplain issues, Sustainable La Crosse Commission. So I get a lot of variety. And what's nice is that I get to tie in my previous work in the music industry, the sort of arts and entertainment part of my professional life into planning, working with the arts boards.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a nice experience between the planning component and also your past in the arts. What is the purpose of the City of La Crosse Arts Board?
The City Vision 2020, which is La Crosse's downtown sort of master plan, had the idea for an arts district, kind of centered around the La Crosse Center and the Pump House and some other arts facilities, and later the Weber Center, trying to highlight the sort of arts activity in that area. So that's kind of the main impetus. One of the other things that the Arts Board does is serves as a forum to receive proposals. So like if someone wants to have public art, put a new sculpture in, the Arts Board can help them sort of navigate the bureaucracy of the city. Another thing that the Arts Board does is advocates for the art, trying to make sure that arts are considered in different policies and proposals and plans. So like, for example, one of the things we were looking into in the state of Wisconsin used to have was a percent for the arts program, making sure that a percentage of budget is dedicated towards art. That hasn't gotten off the ground yet in the city, but I mean, that's kind of just an example of how we advocate for arts and policy.
So, I mean, you kind of touched on a few topics. Why is something like the City of La Crosse Arts Board necessary for people that live here?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, we're very fortunate to have a lot of really great public art and artistic events. With Art Spire, that was actually inspired by one of our big art projects, the Confluence mural, trying to bring these sort of disparate activities together and think of it in more of a holistic promotion of the city and making sure that we're getting a good amount of representation in our art and keeping our graduates, students studying art. How can we give them an opportunity to stick around in the city, connecting the dots between the different art activities and artists in the community?
You know, one of the things I've noticed is, which I think might be maybe one of your highlights for the Arts Board, and maybe you can share a little bit more, is Landon Sheely's Helping Hands, which is on a parking ramp downtown. But what else is next for the City of La Crosse? Also, maybe what are some other ones that people may not necessarily know these sort of campaigns are coming out of the Arts Board?
The Landon Sheely's Helping Hands mural was actually a response to the Confluence mural. We had like an international artist work on that. I think it was like $160,000 project. And we wanted to show that there can be big public art projects that are within the reach of the community. We can have local artists make murals for an affordable amount. Landon's mural was probably done for like a tenth of the budget. So the idea would be to find more walls, find more artists downtown and elsewhere. What we're working on now is a sort of database that would connect artists to property owners to make these happen, showing that it's accessible. It's not just these huge international artists to come to town. We want local artists too. Some other projects that we've been working on that may be lesser known are just sort of taking care of our existing public art. We had 2 projects last year. The Lyra sculpture that was in Burns Park, refurbished that and painted it to its original blue color and relocated it out by the marina. We're hoping that for the boaters, it's a really cool sort of landmark on the coast. The other renovation and refurbishment that we did was with the dancer sculpture that was in the pump house parking lot. Got rid of the rust and repainted that and moved it next to the Weber Center for the Performing Arts. A lesser known project, but still significant for the arts board. One of the things that we're working on now is trying to figure out how to get sculptures into the River Point district, formerly known as Riverside North. There's some parkland there. Board members have been looking at how we can incorporate art in that development.
That's great. It's really interesting to hear those backstories, especially about the Lyra being one who's from here when it used to be at the mall, and then just seeing it move around. So where can people find out more about the Arts Board if they want to participate, volunteer, or maybe have an idea to share?
Well, there's a Arts Board page on the city's website, so cityoflacrosse.org. And then if you go under your government, there's a tab for boards and committees. On the boards and committees, there's an Arts Board link. My contact information is there so people can get in touch with me. Otherwise, they can follow meeting agendas and minutes. I'm in the process of finalizing our strategic plan, so getting that out there is probably my next project for the webpage.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.